The lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on and they get.
He missed the complete that. He's crazy
Side by
stuff.
side, Freitas is on the grass on the infield floor. He slides through. He tags Richard.
Walls to the left of me, walls to the right of me. Circuit Gilles Villeneuve is not shy of places to end your race prematurely. A throwback to a time when racing expected much from drivers and quickly separated the brave from the foolish. So it seems fitting that we would plop a pair of late 80s sports car on the track and let them have at it. You're watching round 6 of the iRacing Kamel GT series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth covering for Sean Ambrose is Samuel Ryman. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Sam, Montreal is probably more well known for its F1 roots, but this place has seen a number of sports car races over the years. Tell us about the track.
Yeah, this is one of those love or hate racetracks, Joe. People either really seem to like it or not, because it's a really high-speed street circuit. You mentioned walls near you, 2.71 miles in length, that's 4.361 kilometers, 13 turns, and we're only going to be racing 30 minutes here today, but a lot can happen in that 30 minutes. So one of the plus sides and one of the reasons I like this circuit is there are a lot of overtaking opportunities out there, but there's also a lot of danger zones. Are you a viewer who loves it or hates it? Well, if you don't know the track too well, let's give you an idea of what it's like with our GSRC lap guide.
Alright, we've got Clayton McLeod in the GSRC Nissan, so let's do a lap around Montreal. Down to turn 1, this seems like a good place to pass, but it's very difficult to complete it. The switch back to the hairpin means either side is viable for attack or defense. Plus, lap 1 tends to be full of car contact through this sequence. Watch the wheel spin coming out of there, and then stay off to the left as set up for turn 3. The exit of this chicane is incredibly tight with the wall being right at the edge of the track. Going 100% here all of the time is a big risk. No time to rest here, it's a flat-out blast through 5, but make sure to hug the right side to set up for 6. You can see just how difficult it is trying to tiptoe through this corner and turn 7. You can't risk the tail waggling and slapping the concrete to the outside. As you straighten out this gentle curve, what you want to do is try to spot the bridge as a braking reference. 8 and 9 have these giant sausage curves to the inside at the apex. Do not clatter over them if you can help it. Now comes the run to the casino hairpin. This is your only braking event that isn't into a chicane. That'll make it very enticing for drivers to make passes here. Try not to get on the brakes too late if you do have a go. It's awfully easy to overshoot this corner, and sometimes that can cost you multiple positions. Once again, turbo lag is going to make it treacherous for those with a heavy right foot. Even still, with the backstretch being the longest acceleration zone of the track, being able to get to the power quickly and confidently will be critical to your lap time. The next favorite overtaking spot is definitely into the final chicane. But you've got to treat it with respect because the Wall of Champions is waiting for anyone too greedy on the exit. From there, as you power your way to the line, you've now finished a lap around Montreal. You can see with us giving the lap guide in the Nissan, it's going to be difficult for a number of drivers, especially with that being the main car out here today. Only 6 of the Audis have showed up. At least it's a little bit more than we saw at Okayama, so it should give us some more action in that GTO class as we watch some of our drivers, including Boss Slob, work around to put their laps in. Nobody has completed a full lap yet in qualifying, so hence why there are no times. Boss Slob's 140 is just the standard that is in there. He is coming to complete his first lap, I believe, though, as he comes across the line. Nope, that is not his first lap. Some other drivers, though, starting to get times in, including Ardo Ihomaki, who tops the charts at the moment.
Yeah, quite a wide range already, Joe. This is a single split going on, so we're going to have a variety of different skill levels here, from the drivers in the number 1 car, this being an official iRacing series race, all the way down to the number 27. I believe we have a 27 car field here with Jarmo Lotomaki sporting that number. I always like having the highest number in a race like this, so it means you can't have a bad finish.
That's true, I suppose. Michel de Jong, who definitely doesn't have a bad number at number 13, has put it up at the top of the sheets for the GTO class. Andrew Baki not too far behind him right now at 3/10 behind. And yes, there should be quite a spread, as these cars are known for being difficult to be consistent with. The GTO, the Audi especially, known for being tough under braking. Probably the reverse for the GTP, the Nissans, being tough to get the power down, as we have A few drivers getting ready to complete their second lap. Let's see if they can improve their time. Clayton McLeod currently sitting third. Can he come across and improve 125.7 currently? And he does by a tenth, but it's not enough to bump him up the order.
Well, there's two reasons, Drew, why we're really focusing hard on qualifying here, and I think, and the main encompassing reason is it's going to be really, really important. A, because it's a really short race, a 30-minute race, especially for sports cars, is a bit of a sprint. And secondly, the walls at this track, combined with the large number of cars we have here, I think we're going to see some drama on the opening lap. And the further back you qualify, the more chances it's going to happen in front of you, and you're going to have to find a way through it. Additionally, the track temperature, only 77 degrees Fahrenheit. That is very, very cool. I wouldn't be surprised if we see some drivers struggling to get the tyres to grip to the racetrack on the opening couple of laps.
Certainly have to tread lightly as we watch Sam Whitten do so coming out of turn 7. Accelerating along the Riverside Drive. Then he'll be braking for turn 8, one of those ones with that curved braking zone, a number of places like that around here, making it extra tricky. Michael Rasmussen, a newcomer to the broadcast at least. I'm not sure if he's run this series outside of our airing on Saturdays. He had a bad first lap, or actually I think it was his warm-up lap that he came into the wall, but he's not going to put a lap in at all as he comes to a halt. So Rasmussen, number 2, despite his height number on the iRating, is not going to start with a lap time. That's going to put him at the back of the GTO. Brian Shanahan, currently sitting third, has completed 2 of his laps, so he is not going to be able to improve. In fact, all of our GTO cars have gotten their laps in or did not put a lap in, so they are settled. I believe everybody is done in the GTPs as well. As I'm looking through the order, yes indeed, everybody's got their 2 laps in or is not out on track for their second lap, even though they've only completed 1. So our grid is in order. Let's go through and give you how they sit. Ardo Ihamaki up on the pole. Good to see him get a good time in, see what he can do up from the front. Rob Olenek sitting in second without Keith Ritchie here. Could be a chance for Rob to maybe get a win in. Clayton McLeod is going to be sitting in third. Great qualifying for him, especially compared to where he ran last week at Okayama. Nicholas Mukano is going to be starting on the outside of row 2. Steve Bycroft starts in 5th, with Bas Slob starting in 6th. Myrtle Shaheen will be in 7th, with Pedro Ferreira in 8th. Fabian Jungbluth will be in 9th, and Marco Kika rounds out our top 10. Sam?
Yeah, continuing the GTP cars here, we have Jamie Hall and Ryan McFowle on row 6, Philip Lake and Dave Peterson behind them, and then Cedric Duras and John Hill. Sam Winton will be starting in 17th position ahead of Michael Kopak. John Keefe and James Kilburn round out the top 20 on screen, and you'll see on the next page here that we do have one more GTP, and that's Jarmo Lautamaki a little bit down the order, but then we go to the GTOs, Joe.
Indeed, Michel de Jong puts it on pole, and he's got a good, actually over a second, I believe, if I'm looking at this correctly, over Andrew Backey. A phenomenal lap by de Jong. Brian Shanahan will start third in that class at Ekikoi Visto, coming fresh off the Lotus 49 to drive a very different car, starting in 4th. 5th will be Michael Rasmussen. Again, did not get a time in. Same thing with Martin Magi, who will start last on the field. Going to be an interesting one, Sam, as you pointed out. Mistakes will be punishing. It's going to be difficult to pass around here. They are going to start with a rolling start with the roof pace car, gridding them up just outside of the casino hairpin, Sam.
Yeah, one thing, it will be interesting to see what Rasmussen can do from the back of a GTO class, because we mentioned how he has a number 2 on his car, and although the number doesn't necessarily guarantee you're strong in a particular car or a particular track, the second highest number in the field in the GTOs is Andrew Buck. He's racing with the number 12, so it makes you think that Rasmussen does have a bit of an I-rating advantage over the rest of his field. Hopefully for his sake, it shouldn't be too difficult to get by the 4 cars in front of him, but he's only got 30 minutes to try and do it.
Speaking of Andrew Backey, you can see these classic schemes on some of the cars. They, of course, run their own special VCR championship in this series. If you like a little bit extra out there to compete for, in your iRacing official series. Andrew organizes that and puts that together. So big thanks to him. And as we watch them continue to try and grid up, it looks like just about everybody is out there. Just one or two cars that we're waiting on until we get going here, and then we'll have 30 minutes of racing here around Montreal. Going to be a bit frantic with not a whole lot of race, Sam, to try and overtake along with that difficulty.
No, absolutely, Joe, and especially I think that's going to be a fact in GTPs. If there is an incident on the first lap, you do not get a free repair with these cars. However, there is no incident limit. You do lose SR, obviously, if you run off on the grass, but you can get away with it all day long if you keep your car in one piece. And for the record, I do still own a VCR, Joe.
I do too, actually, but then I've worked in the video world for quite a while, so I have reason to own one. So, as Ardo Ihimaki leads away, just behind the pace car, you can see cars accelerating and braking, trying to heat their tires up. They can't heat their brakes up in terms of affecting the braking performance, but their brakes do heat up the tires here in iRacing. Pace car has peeled off. Ardo Ihimaki waiting. Now he accelerates away before we get the green flag, which triggers it. And he gets a great jump over second place. Rob Olenek side by side there between Clayton McLeod and Nicholas Mukanos as everybody starts to check up into the first quarter. Can they make it through here? So far, so good through the GTP field. And it looks like they're going to be clean. Let's go to the GTOs.
Yeah, Michael DeJonge got on the loud pedal as they were pretty much going through the final chicane. That meant the cars following him got a better start than the one starting on the inside. So actually, I think Brian Shanahan actually got a bit of a jump on the other cars, but he seems to have dropped back a little bit. He may actually have a penalty for jumping the start. I'm not sure. He's going very slow, Brian Shanahan.
So things already stringing out with the small GTO field. Meanwhile, a number of drivers close together in the Nissans. Ardo Ihimaki has got less than a second over Olenek at the moment, so Rob not able to threaten, but further behind. Clayton McLeod falling in the clutches of Bas Slav as they accordion together down to the casino hairpin.
Yeah, getting up to speed on that GTO start. Definitely looked like Shanahan jumped the start, and maybe that's why he had to give those positions back. Oh, and our GTO leader gets into a slow GTP car, and that sends Andrew Backe around the... Sorry, he wasn't the leader, but he was up there in second. See what happened here. That
was Jarmo Latamaki who put in a lap time slower than our GTOs. Unusual with these GTP cars. Wow.
Yeah, Michael DeJonge, the GTO leader, was ahead of all that. Actually, he's ahead of a few... No, I take that back. I thought he was ahead of a couple other GTP cars, but that's not the case.
Gonna watch it from Koivisto's point of view.
Think he got a piece.
Well, it looks like he made it through okay, though. Oh, and we're hearing he's in the pits, though, so you're right. He got enough damage. Oh, sad to see for Hideki after just missing out on the points in the Lotus 49 race that we watched a little bit earlier. So that's going to thin out our GTO field even more, down to 4 cars after 1 lap.
But it does mean Rasmussen is already up into second, but he's about 7 seconds back of Michael DeJonge, who was ahead of all of that carnage. Michel DeJonge, I apologize.
It's okay. Michel has certainly got himself a handy gap, and he won last round at Okayama, as you saw in our pre-race video. So he's looking to maybe get back-to-back unless Michael has great pace on him. So going back up to the GTPs, John Keefe is trying to work on Cedric Darris, takes a little bit of a peek into the final chicane. That's going to back both of them up, and Ryan McPhail catches the tail of Keefe.
Two cars behind him trying to go side by side to out of Champion's Wall. That didn't work too well. Dave Peterson got together and he dropped back behind James Kilburn.
And McPhail had an attempt around the outside of the first corner. That switched it back to the inside through the hairpin as they come to turn 3. McPhail gets it done over O'Keefe. So move Ryan up to 14th. Ahead of them, a little bit of a battle going for 11th place as Philip Lake gets a good run off of turn 7. They're heading down the Riverside Drive up to the bridge for turn 8. Not close enough to have an attempt as those two stay single file, trying to avoid those large sausage curves at the apex of those corners.
Martin Maggie had just taken second in GTO to Brian Shanahan. Brian got it back on the front straight, and then Martin almost looped it around in turn 1. It cost him a lot of time.
Indeed, he's now 5 seconds back of Rasmussen. As Rasmussen trying to catch up to Shanahan now.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I thought this was second in class. It was for third in class, so they dropped back quite a bit.
I thought Rasmussen was in second a bit ago. I'm not sure how he lost that to Shanahan. Let me double check on that.
Well, this, of course, is good news for the number 13, as... Oh, Rasmussen, more trouble!
Is this coming out of turn 9? It looks to be the case.
And he's had to take a tow to the pits.
Now, I'm looking. I don't see him necessarily hit anything. He outbraked himself into the corner, and then he pulled over. Well, that's sad to see. Huh. Rasmussen.
Not a good day for the driver for number 2.
No, that's going to leave us now with only 3 of our GTOs out on track, which pretty much guarantees these last 3 cars a podium in that class.
And we just lost a GTP as well. James Kilburn, driving the number 67, driving the number 26, has retired from the race.
That looks to have happened going into turn 1. Outbraked himself. Not sure if he hit the wall though. I'm going back to check, see if there was contact made. He smoked him up big time. Parked it off the track, and then decided to exit. So a number of drivers really not electing to see this race to its completion. Usually the attrition, Sam, is because of hitting the wall.
Yeah, you would think that around here. I mean, maybe they've hit the wall earlier on and their cars just aren't handling up to par, and they know, you know, a pit stop around here in a 30-minute long race, you're not going to get a good finish.
Up at
and
the
watching
front.
the GTPs go by the last couple of turns there, getting very close to the wall.
Very much so. Well, we're watching the top of the field as Bas Slab, Nicholas Mukanos, and Clayton McLeod are all in quite a battle. Now, last time, we want to make a correction. We said that McLeod was a teammate with Myrtle Shaheen. That is incorrect. They just have the same paint scheme. Confusing for us, it is Mike Kopak who is the teammate of McLeod out there in the VCR Championship.
You'll see a good battle for third going on in GTPs here. Across the start-finish line last time around, Marco Kika, who had been driving the number 7 car, he was running in about 15th. He's brought it into the pits with some damage to the front end of his machine. And Fabian Jungbluth is off course here.
Looks like that happened under braking down into turn 8. You're going to see the rear of the car just snap away. I wonder if he touched the grass there. We couldn't quite see it from that angle, but I'm looking from above. No, I guess he did not.
I think it's just a cold track, Joe. It's really hard for these tyres to grip. If he has too much rear brake dialed into that thing, combined with the cold tyres still only 8 minutes into this race, that could have very easily looped his car around.
That mid-pack still all relatively close together. You can see fighting back from about 11th on to 16th. But our front runners still fighting for that podium. Oh, and Ferreira having problems. This was once again into turn 1. Starting to think that you're onto something here with the cold tires here, because Sam, he did the same thing, just lost it under braking.
Yeah, and he's rejoined right in the heat of a battle for about 10th place as we get the replay of what's going on here. A lot of action between, I'd say, about 5th and 15th in the GTP class is where all the action is.
Now, not much to update you on in the GTOs. De Jong still leads by 16 seconds, actually, over Brian Shanahan, who has 10 seconds over Martin Magi. And those are the only 3 of the Audis that are still running.
You know, let's not forget, Shanahan actually dropped to the back of GTOs at the start of the race.
McPhail, sorry to interrupt. with a big moment in a big pack of cars that could have gone so much worse. That's kicked things off behind him as an opportunity was given to Keefe to regain a position. But let's look at the replay of Ryan. I think he got into the back of Ferreira, who went a little wide at turn 8. And then when he tried to get on the power, that poor Nissan just could not cope with the torque.
And such is the pace of the GTPs over the GTOs here. Arto just lapped the third place running GTO, Martin Mackey. We're not even 10 minutes in.
Fabian Jungbluth with another spin. This time he did make contact with the barriers, backing it in out of the Wall of Champions. Hit the opposite wall though. We're going to watch here. Trying to go side by side. And once again, the immense power of these Nissans proving to be just a little bit too much.
You know, you mentioned these slow turns here, and they're trying to get on the power as soon as they can, because after these slow chicanes, there's usually a long straight. But if your wheel isn't pointing straight completely, the car ain't gonna follow.
Especially not with the turbo lag that they suffer from. We switched up to second place, Rob Olenek, who is dealing with this traffic. That's certainly making it interesting as he works his way around Martin Magi. Whoa, big bobble behind by Boslav, who manages to save it miraculously coming out of the casino hairpin. That's going to put him back into the clutches of Clayton McLeod. Big thanks to Clayton for doing our lap guide this week. Very brave over those big curbs, though it does not pay off as Clayton has to lose time trying to recollect the car, and now Steve Bycroft is onto him.
A lot of damage for Cedric Duras. He spun his car from 13th position, exiting the hairpin, and he's really totaled the front end of that machine. I wouldn't be surprised to see him come into the pits.
Completely missing. Now, I don't know. I feel like we've touched on this before. I don't know if they have a nose clip that they can reattach quickly onto these cars.
Well, he's going to try and keep going.
Oh, he might not necessarily know that that nose is gone. Or he just isn't willing to come into pit. There are no scheduled pit stops for this series.
Tell you what, up at the very front of the field, Joe, as actually Nicholas goes off from third place but comes back on, retains his position. Up at the front of the field, Arto has really pulled out 6 seconds over a pack, but then when you do get to P2, they'll pretty much nose to tail all the way back to 6th.
Which is only going to help Arto as those guys battle. Olenek has stretched away a little bit as Mukanos is falling back to about 1.5 seconds from Rob. But like you said, battle for the final podium spot very much on Boslav and that, Clayton McLeod, Steve Bycroft, all within 1 second of one another. And I think maybe there was a change for position with John Keefe. Ooh, another scary moment if we could get a replay here for the number 16 just moments ago coming out of the casino hairpin. I've seen this a few times now, Sam. That turbo kicking in, you can watch here on the replay, just causes that tail to whip out.
The good news, obviously, about when that happens is you're going at a slow speed, so if you catch it soon enough, you can keep it pointing in the right direction. If you can't, then you see what happened to Cedric last lap.
Certainly needs some quick hands at times as they work their way around. Now 17 minutes left. Almost halfway through this race, so let's give you our order. Top 5 rundown of each class. Arto Ihamaki running in first at the moment. As we mentioned, a whole 6 seconds over Rob Olenek. He's starting to stretch out that gap just that little bit more now. 2.5 seconds over Nicholas Mukanos in his Miller Porsche. Boslav holding tight behind him in fourth, and then Clayton McLeod rounding out our top 5, keeping things tight for that final podium position. Let's go to, I guess, the top 4, Sam, of the GTOs.
Yeah, we only have one GTO left on the overall lead lap, and that won't last for much longer. That's the number 13 of De Dronge, who's kind of had an incident-free race. The rest cannot say that whatsoever. Brian Shanahan, who started in third place, got a bit of a jump at the start, had to give up a lot of spots. But he has worked his way back up to second, granted through some troubles of some others. Third place in class is Martin Maggi. He's not too far behind. If Shanahan did run into any troubles, he should be able to get that second place back quite quickly. And as you mentioned, the last GTO run-in is a bit beat up from that early incident we saw with the GTP, and that's Hideki Koivisto, who's out there running 4th in class out of the 6 GTO starters, with Rasmussen and Bucky out of the race.
That leaves us with little to cover, unfortunately, in the GTOs, but we will peek in on them every once in a while to give you updates of how they're running. Mistakes can still be made around here, and drivers could be losing positions that way. Meanwhile, up in 4th here in the GTPs, Baslav still putting the pressure on to Nicholas Mukanos as they exit the casino hairpin one more time.
Yeah, you mentioned how Rob had kind of been breaking away from these guys. He now has over 2 seconds ahead of our third place car, Nicholas Mukanos. Meanwhile, I'm also keeping an eye on that battle back around for 12th. So we've been seeing John Keefe's adventures today. He's got Michael Kopak and Fabian Drinkbluth not too far behind him. Fabian, of course, trying to work it. And Kopak actually just had a bit of a slide out of a hairpin. But remember, Fabian's trying to rally his way after an earlier mistake, and that got him one of his positions back.
There you can see Kopak and the Momo machine did the same thing we've seen a number of times before, but managed to keep it out of the wall where the tail got away from him coming out of the hairpin. Jungbluth now 13th, trying to come back from early mistakes, looped it around in the final chicane, and has a lot of time to recover. Although granted, he started in 9th, he's only down to 13th, so he's not too far back from where he started.
I'm curious, Joe, as to how much these tyres are going to go off after 30 minutes. I can't imagine it's too much with the cooler temperatures.
I'm sure with some of these corners, these drivers have managed to overheat them in places, but we'll have to wait and see. Biggest mover of the race, though, I would have to say, is probably... There's not a lot of drivers that have been moving upwards, it seems, but Jamie Hall has gone from 11th to 8th. Gained a fair few spots, 13th to 9th as well for the car behind him, Philip Blake. Those two sitting just inside the top 10 have really taken advantage of some other drivers having problems.
We've seen John Keefe's adventures. He started up in 19th. I think he was running 12th last time we checked in on him.
He is indeed still.
Almost passed for third. Vaslov was very late on the brakes, and that's because Mukanos is being held up by our GTO leader. And Slob almost going to the back of Mukanos. Didn't happen, but the battle was on. He's looking down the inside.
They're still being held up as Michel de Jong has nowhere to hide, really. He's got to run his own race, and you can see just how much it's stacking these guys up. Finally, Mukanos squeaks his way by, and the train slowly eases through. 3 of them by. Just behind them, Steve Bycroft managed to gain a ton of ground.
Yeah, well, now Bycroft is hoping that he can get behind De Jong before too long.
McLeod right under the rear wing of Baslav. Can't do anything with it through 8 and 9. Holds tight to him as they come up.
And Jamie Hall at the back of the picture there. Spins out from 8. Loses 1 position. He did get the wall pretty good. He's going again.
Got it twice, it looks like. You're going to see as he spins, gets the nose, comes around, gets the tail.
He's going again in 9th, but he's got the whole back straight to work out if this is a car that he can still compete with or if he needs to bring it into the pits. He's got a bit of a gap ahead of Pedro Ferreira behind him.
Well, that fight for 4th between Slob and McLeod was close, but Slob has been able to start to open the gap and regain on Mukanos in the process. Not just Steve Bycroft who has gained on these guys, but also Myrtle Shaheen has come up to the back of this train.
Give you an update on Hall. He kept out on the track.
This is really the tightest fight with as most cars as we've got here in the field. A few close fights towards the back of the pack, but with this one being up towards the front, let's keep the cameras on these guys. still being led by Mukanos in that podium position of third.
Meanwhile, the top two have closed up a little bit. I just don't know if that's where they've caught traffic, but now there's only 5 seconds between Arto and Rob.
Definitely manageable by Arto. So no need to panic yet. If that number continues to close, we'll switch up to our leaders to see if Olenek can run down the Finn.
And you see, even if he can run down, we're already approaching the closing 10 minutes of this race.
2/3 of the way through. So we watch our leader, get him some screen time. Hasn't really had a whole lot of reason to be on so far this race, just cruising around at the front.
The gap is definitely decreasing a tiny bit, 4.9 there. And now it goes back up a bit.
Third place is catching Hideki Koivisto. So we could see some troubles here. Is Hideki going to be able to move out of the way as they gain on him through 3 and 4? He's going to stay in line. This is going to be tricky as once again they catch him where they caught our leader in the GTOs. But no opportunity, although Mukanos goes defensive down into 6th. That allows Slav to reel him in, but can't get the run off the corner. And they stretch out once again.
Yeah, it's one of the trickiest parts on the circuit to catch someone, but also if there were to be an incident, the drivers behind wouldn't be able to see what's going on. There's a famous video of the about a 20-car Star Master wreck that happened there once just because the drivers didn't know there was a wreck coming out of the corner.
Those blind corners can be extremely dangerous. Thankfully, we race in the virtual world here where no bodywork and no body parts will be harmed. Hopefully, at least.
I've always ever wondered what would happen if my iRacing steering wheel shot around on me if I hit the wall at the wrong angle.
Well, the direct drive wheels, from what I understand, can actually cause some injury if you're not careful. So it is a worry to be had with some drivers, but I haven't experienced it personally, so I can't really attest to what that will entail. As we've got another car coming out of the pits from GTOs. That's Andrew Baki, who's trying to come back out. He is 11 laps down, though, not likely to be able to gain anything by being out here, unfortunately. Just wants to get some time on the track.
But he is only 1 lap behind Rasmussen. If he turns a couple laps, he will get up to 5th.
Ah, that's true.
But also probably doesn't hurt his SR, his safety rating.
That's true too. That's reason to get back out there. Clayton McLeod was getting on the radio saying he's trying something. I'm not sure who he was talking to. I think maybe to John Hill, because he referenced John, but they are way far apart on the track. Clayton is still in a close fight with Boss Slav, who trails Nicholas Mukanos. Every time, Sam, it looks like they come together, they get close as the accordion effect brings them together, but then coming out of the corner, it just does the opposite and they string back out.
I think we got 6 laps left to go. My calculations could be off, but Arto just crossed the line with a little over 8 minutes left on the clock. So 6 laps left for Clayton to work out how to pass the 2 cars ahead of him.
Oof. He got very close down there into turn 1 this time. But once again, just can't find the grip. And actually, it looked like he lost more than he gained.
Pedro Ferreira in back there in 10th place. Ferreira, he got into the back of a GTO in the final chicane there of Hideki Koivisto. And Ryan McFowle is able to close in. He's blinking his headlights, trying to get Hideki to move out of the way for him. But Hideki keeps to the inside and almost comes back across. Yeah, it's not making it easy here and breaks up a battle for 10th in GTP.
And now he completely moves out of the way, lets him through. I think he was trying to let him through on the outside. It wasn't a defensive move that we saw from there. It's hard to communicate sometimes when you're both in your own car there, Sam, and not using the radio.
Yeah, no, I have to go back and see what location those 2 drivers are from, but it's also hard to communicate if you don't speak the same language, which is always a fact on iRacing.
McPhail's running his home track. He's from Canada. Koivisto is from Finland. Maybe it's just I'm pretty sure Hideki can speak some English, but maybe it's just that Finnish tight-lipped nature.
Let's get back up to this battle to third. Even that's broke up a little bit. There's a GTO ahead of Clayton. That's kind of cost him some time from 2 cars ahead.
It's our final podium spot sitter, Martin Magi, sitting in third in the GTOs, just letting people through. Michel Dion still leads, got 26 seconds over Brian Shanahan. Martin in third, a whole 30 seconds back from him. Backy did, by the way, move himself up past Michael Rasmussen. And McLeod has dropped off significantly from Slob. He was tailing him for quite a while, but now he's a second and a half back. Slob, however, is still on top of Mukanos.
I think GTO traffic might have had something to do with that. But then again, if Slob begins challenging Mukanos, that could bring McLeod right back into the battle. You see 6th and 7th also going on behind them, with Steve Bycroft right ahead of Metro Shahin, who's had a good race today. Started 7th, still in 7th, hasn't got any incidents, so no reason to have him on camera, but doing quite well back there.
I might as well get him some screen time for friends and family. We congratulate a good run from Myrtle. Looking through to see who's had a good run, who's gained lots of positions. Not much has changed, really. John Keefe, though, still looking pretty handy, going from 19th to 13th.
You know, this is why we were paying so much attention to qualifying, Joe, as we knew that there was very little time and very little opportunities for the drivers to make up positions on track.
Seems to have borne fruit today. Unfortunate for the fans, but for the drivers that qualified there, I'm sure they're happy to not have to lose many positions. So we've got Bas Slob and Nicholas Mukanos putting a lap on Cedric Darris, who's gotten back out on track. Unfortunately, he bulks Bas Slob down into 8, and that costs him a ton of time.
Yeah, I don't think Cedric ever pit. He's been trying to run with that damage. He's done a fairly good job considering how the front end has gone.
Absolutely. He's still running at 18th. Not the last of the GTP cars out there. Marco Kika is the final of the Nissans, still out on track.
First of the Nissans out on track.
Shaheen popping out. We can see it on screen as they go 3 wide to try and lap the car of Cedric. Oh, and they come together. That's Steve Bycroft who backs it into the wall of champions with some help. And as he clatters over the curb, he gets it going once again, but he's not going to be happy about that one with only 3 minutes left. That moves him down to 8th.
Yeah, it's not a place you can go too wide.
Not often. He was fully inside of him. It just seemed like maybe Steve carried a little more speed. And you'll see with how tight it is in there, just clips that number 10's right rear corner.
And Stephen Sanderlin must have gone because he spun it again, I think, coming out of turn 2. Did that on his own, so what place is he in now? He's still in 8th.
All that action and the traffic from Cedric has now separated pretty much everybody by a second and a half or more throughout the field. No battles left to speak of directly, although some cars might be able to come back. Ryan McPhail with a problem, though. Makes a little bit of contact with the wall as he slides it out of turn 4.
He'd been running on his own, no pressure around him there.
You can see he doesn't initially hit anything. The number 21, though, just noses it in the Armco trying to get it going again.
He lost 1 position there on screen, you saw it happen. 2 laps left to go as Arto just crossed the line with 2.5 minutes left.
That promotes Fabian Jungbluth up to 11th position. Remember, he lost a lot of spots on that first, actually I should say, I believe it was lap 2 that Jungbluth spun it coming out of the final turn. Started in 9th, so he's got 2 more positions to make up, but it looks unlikely with 7 seconds to go up to Pedro.
He's had a pretty good comeback race, so also Montreal here has had a good race leading in GTOs.
Certainly has. That Audi has been unfazed pretty much the whole way through. He popped it onto the pole and the GTOs, and it looks like unless something drastic happens, he's going to take it home.
We see the amount of drama out here. No one's really safe, I ever think, in these endurance races, especially on a slippery track with close walls in cars that are hard to control such as this, because you never know if a car in front of you is going to have a problem and if you're going to have to go anywhere. That being said, Arto Thamaki is only going to have to do about 2.7 miles as he's about to take a white flag, and he'll pick up a victory here.
6-second gap that Arto has over Rob Olenek at the moment. So a mistake could still hand it over. As you mentioned, he's got to run this clean. But at this point, he could definitely back off if he wanted to and run a very slow lap, still come home with it. Mukanos is having to fend off Slav for that final podium spot as Slav has now regained the ground. It's within half a second.
Yeah, but I mean, the good news for Mukanos here is no lap traffic ahead of him, so it's gonna, I think, have to make a mistake from here, more an opportunistic dive by Slob for this position to change.
No, they do have some
traffic.
traffic.
Say that, yeah, there is one GTO there, I missed that.
Well, they're going to catch him at just the right time. If Koivisto holds off to the left here, they should both streak on through. There goes one, and there goes Slav. White flag is indeed now waving officially as Ihamaki comes around the casino hairpin. Puts his foot down as he accelerates down the backstretch. Along the rowing lake, under the banners, looking to spot his brake marker into the final chicane. Just has to navigate it one last time. Can take it nice and easy through here. And indeed he does. Doesn't give the curbs a bother. As he passes by the wall of champion and comes to the line, Arto Ihamaki is going to take the win today. Olenek in second.
About sixth is up for grabs, rather, between Philip Blake and Myrtle Shaheen on the inside in the final 10. Nice move by Myrtle, able to pull off that pass.
A last gap maneuver for the Momo machine, and he's going to make it to the line to grab himself a handy little 6th place.
Meanwhile, we're probably all wondering where our GTO lead is. Well, he must have crossed the line not too far ahead of Imaki, because he's still, I think, got quite a bit of lap left to go.
Indeed, coming down the Riverside straightaway. Checking to see if indeed he finished ahead. Yes, he was right ahead of him when Arto came across the line. In fact, if Michel wanted, he probably could have slowed and easily taken the win and not have to done this extra lap, but he gets a victory lap all on his own here.
He's got the win anyway, Joe, because Brian Shanahan finished 2 laps down, so even if he ran out of fuel or crashed right now, he would still take home the win in GTO. Regardless,
as he comes down the backstretch, past the casino, and up to the final chicane, that Jägermeister machine has been dominant. It was a small field, but there was still trouble for many, not for Michel de Jong, as he comes out of the final corner, takes the win in the GTO class here in Canada. With that, we're going to go to break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We're going to have all the upcoming races here on your screen, and after that, we'll have the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. Welcome back to the circuit. Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal. We just watched round 6 of the iRacing Kamel GT series, and in the end, Ardo Ihamaki led from pole to finish. Took home the win today over Rob Olenek, who couldn't chase him down, but Rob had a solid second place over Nicholas Mukanos, who really had to fight for it. Managed to round out the podium just slightly over Boss Slob, who finished 4th. Clayton McLeod comes home in 5th, also put the pressure on those two, with Myrtle Shaheen not far behind, snagging 6th at the last corner. Philip Blake comes home in 7th. Steve Bycroft, with a bit of a problem in that final chicane with Myrtle Shaheen, spins him around, comes home in 8th. Jamie Hall finishes in P9 with Pedro Ferreira, rounding out our top 10 here, Sam.
Yeah, and then we continue with the GTPs in the second set here, with Fabian Junkelbluth 11th overall, and then Ryan McFowle, John Keith and Michael Kopak in 14th position. Dave Peterson rounds out the top 15 ahead of John Hill, Sam Winton, who was the last driver on the lead lap, and Cedric Duras, who was a GTP. Further on down this list, you'll see our last 3 GTPs were Marco Kika, James Kilburn, and Jamo Lortamaki. But the top 2 GTOs also on this we got Michael Montreal de Jong there in first place ahead of Brian Shanahan. Joe?
Michelle de Jong, we'll get you a pronunciation guide there. It's Martin Magi finishing 3rd in the GTOs. Hideki Koivisto coming home in 4th, and you saw Andrew Backey and Michael Rasmussen coming home much farther down the order. So with that, we've got a few of our drivers coming in to talk to us post-race. Let's start with 2nd place, Rob Olenek, who had to contend with a bit of traffic from the GTOs throughout. Seemed a bit tough out there today, Rob, with the Audis trying to give you guys a place to go by, but there weren't many opportunities. Rob, do you have a copy?
Hello, are you guys there?
And now we got you.
Yeah, I got you now.
Sorry, just repeat the question. It seemed like with the GTO field, despite the small field, it looked like it was difficult for them to give you guys chances to get through.
Yeah, I mean, I think they drove well. For me, it just happened to be bad timing. I mean, I was coming up on them in the sections you definitely couldn't get by easily.
And speaking of passing not just the other class, but within your own class, it looked like everybody struggled to try and find opportunities. If you had the pace for Ardo Ihamaki, where would have you think you would have looked to try and make the overtake?
Probably on the back straight after the hairpin and going into that chicane. There's really not a lot of good opportunities unless someone makes a mistake otherwise.
Indeed. Well, after this one, up next, you guys have a very different track, with it being Lime Rock Park, incredibly short and traffic likely to be even more of a problem. Are you looking forward to Lime Rock Park, or is there a little bit of trepidation there?
I'm really looking forward to Lime Rock. It's one of the only tracks I've been on in a real car. It's really close by to me, and I drive Lime Rock just for fun. So for me, it's great. A lot of the other guys don't like it, 'cause last time we were there, traffic was difficult. I think the guys are much better managing traffic. I think we'll do a lot better there this time.
Well, with you guys having some experience, I agree, it should be much more doable. Thanks for coming and talking to us. And again, congratulations on a podium today.
All right. Just congrats, Ardo, too. Thanks. Bye.
Obviously, being very gracious, Rob, to our winner, Ardo Ihamaki. Up next, Sam, I believe you are going to be talking to our 3rd place finisher in the GTPs, Nick Mukanos.
Yeah, we had a lot of great racing up at the front of GTP, and Nick, you held on ahead of Bass there on the final lap to bring home a podium finish.
Oh yeah, I mean he put on a lot of pressure. He's been faster than me the last couple of races, but kept it out of the wall, and it worked out.
Yeah, how tricky was the track out there today? It seemed very cool temperatures and a lot of cars spinning off. Were the tyres not getting to grip very well?
I don't know. I really like this track. It did help that it was cooler. It made it easy, a little bit easier. Traffic was difficult. I think if we had more Audis, it would have been pretty interesting. But I don't know. You just got to be careful on the throttle in the Nissan.
Now, towards the end of a race, when you had Bass right behind you on the final lap, did you think you'd be able to hold on to that third position?
Yeah, if you touch the curbing at all, it puts you into the wall. So I was trying not to do that and just hoping that the traffic worked out. And a couple of times towards the end, the traffic kind of worked to my advantage. I think that helped.
Yeah, now next race we go to is Lime Rock Park, where the track is even smaller and the conditions are probably going to be a little bit warmer as well, so it'll be a bit slippery. Do you think we're going to see more action there?
Yeah, I think it'll get interesting in Lime Rock, but I don't know. I like these kind of tracks where you got to really find your spot. There's not a lot of room, so we'll see. These racers we got in this series are pretty good, so I'm not too scared about getting run into. It's more me not making a mistake.
You think you can get another podium finish? Is that your goal?
I don't know. Today we didn't have Tapani and Keith, so that obviously helped me with a couple positions, but it'll be tough. But always do my best.
Well, thanks for coming to talk to us, Nick, and we look forward to seeing you back out there.
Yep, thanks.
There was Nick Mukanos, who finishes third in the GTPs. Andrew Backey has come to talk to us from the GTOs, the only one for the GTOs that has come to talk to us, and he did not have the greatest of races today. First off, Andrew, I have to assume that it was a little bit unexpected to be catching a Nissan that early in the race.
Yeah, I mean, I know it happens. I'm not one to say that somebody can't join a race because of their pace. Although I do think there's a level of respect and expectation of knowing when you don't need to try and fight for a position that's not even in your class. So it's really disappointing to be out so early. Tried to get a repair and my engine wouldn't even give me enough power to shift into fifth. So shame. I saw a couple other people got picked up in incidents as well, but on to next week.
Exactly. And after, obviously you've probably raced a few more races in this series this week. Are there any positives that you've taken out of this week of racing at Montreal? Surely you had at least some good finishes along the way besides this one.
This is my first race of the week, so I'll probably try and pick up some banker points tomorrow. But yeah, hoping for something better today, but didn't turn out.
Yeah, well, at least the good news is it's likely to go uphill from here. Well, that was Andrew Backey, who finishes fifth in class today. Sam, I understand that we have, let's see, are we doing Boss Slob or Michael Kopak next? We got both waiting in the wing. Let's do Boss Slob. Sam, why don't you talk to our fourth place finisher?
Yeah, we talked to the driver who held off the number one car at the end, but Bass, you were the driver in that number one car. Couldn't quite make that pass stick for the podium position on the last lap.
Nah, I wasn't really sure where I was going to pass him anyway, since I was always slow out of the corner, and then by the time we got in the braking zone I wasn't close enough, so yeah, I was just hoping for a small mistake so I could drive next to him, but he did really well.
This is a tricky track and it's not the easiest car to drive. What was the hardest part about getting around the circuit without any mistakes here?
Well, traffic was pretty hard. Although it was only a couple of Audis, we caught them at a couple of bad times, and then I really had to check up because Nicholas had to brake as well, and yeah, and then you have to be really careful not to go on the throttle too fast, because you want to get fast by really fast, and then you make a small mistake by pressing the throttle too much and you go spinning around.
Unfortunately, you kept on the track and finished fourth. Bass, we don't have a whole lot of time here. I've just got to ask quickly, what are your thoughts on Lime Rock next week?
That's gonna be pretty insane, I think, with lots of traffic, but I like Lime Rock, so it's gonna be fun.
Alright, well, we wish you the best of luck there. Thanks for coming to talk to us.
Yeah, thanks.
That was Boslav, 4th place finisher in the GTPs. Real quick, we're going to talk to Mike Kopak about his race. Unfortunately, we didn't get to give him a lot of screen time. So, Michael, why don't you tell us about how your race went?
It was actually one of my better ones for a change. Had a good battle going there with John Keefe for a while. He'd make a mistake, I'd reel him in, and then I'd make a mistake, and he'd gap me, and we just kept going back and forth for most of the race. It was a lot of fun.
Indeed, you managed to go from 18th to 14th, so at least a few position gains in this one, especially with you being rated number 24 by your iRating. Do you kind of approach these thinking about sort of gaining iRating like that, or you just take them all for fun as they come?
Yeah, I mean, I won't say that I don't think about the iRating at all, but I recognize the fact that I'm pretty much the lowest regular that runs the series, so anything I can get, I'll take.
I can understand that completely. Well, again, nice job today. Sorry that this is going to be a little bit of a short one, but wanted to get you in real quick to at least get you some screen time. Thanks for coming and talking to us.
No problem. Thanks, guys, and thanks for everything you do.
As Michael Kopak finished 14th in the Nissans today. With that, we're going to close up here at Montreal. Of course, thank you to the Kamel GT community for coming together and bringing this broadcast to air. And thanks to Rob Olenek for all he does organizing that. And thank you to Andrew Baki, who helps organize the VCR series. Also, thanks to Andrew for the intro video. He's the one that makes those great little retro-feeling ditties that he sends to us every week to play. I love how they look. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed on your screen. Additional thanks to Eric Ekholm and Casey Lalonde, who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Sam, Amjad, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Or you can check out our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel or Facebook at /Global Sim Racing Channel. The next race is going to be at Lime Rock Park, as we mentioned. That'll be Saturday, July 8th at 1 p.m. Eastern. If you want to see a bit of chaos, I have a feeling that would be the place to find it. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. However, until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.